everybody. My name is Angelique, corporatecrunchy.com. I am a thrifter, reseller, and conscious fashion fan. And today I want to talk to you about a topic that's been kind of making the rounds lately, and that is, are resellers ruining thrift stores? So I decided to talk about this a couple months ago. My daughter sent me a TikTok video, and the title was something like the gentrification of thrift stores. And I've seen this theme come up a few times. And it kind of got me thinking, like, okay, well, as a reseller, I want to be responsible, with what I'm doing. So I put a question out to the reseller community. Do you think this is a problem? People, wealthier people going into thrift stores where low income people typically get their clothing, and either buying up all the inventory or causing prices to inflate. So what I want to talk about today is, after kind of doing a little thinking and researching and talking to some folks, there's two reasons why I think it's not a problem. But there is one way I want to talk about that we can be more responsible as resellers. Okay, so number one reason why I think this is not a problem, resellers sourcing in thrift stores, is because thrift stores have a lot of inventory. They have more inventory than they can possibly sell. And what happens is, a number of things happen when donations come into a thrift store like a Salvation Army or a Goodwill, for example, a big chain like that. About 5% of the items are completely unusable, have to be thrown away. All the usable items will get put into inventory, and they typically have about a week to sell before it needs to be moved out, and so they can make room for new inventory. The inventory that they move out typically will go to one of several places. It'll either go to an outlet location, if like Goodwill has outlet locations. It might go to a textile recycler, or in a lot of cases it also gets bundled up and gets shipped overseas for the secondhand market overseas. So there's a lot of inventory that's not being used. So that's one reason why I think it's not a problem. One of the arguments is, well, we're buying up all the clothes that low-income folks need. That's not a problem. There's plenty of inventory in the thrift stores. Another example of this, recently, my husband and I, with my daughter, we had a garage sale fundraiser for my daughter. She has a trip that she's fundraising for. So lots of friends and neighbors gave us donations to sell in our garage sale, and we sold quite a lot. But at the end of a couple of days of selling, we still had some things left over that we didn't really have room to store. So we said, well, let's take it to the thrift store. So my husband drove it down to Salvation Army, and they would not take our donations. They said, we have too much. We're not going to take it. He was able to convince them to take a few items, but basically they said, no, we just have too much. We can't take any more today. So then he drove down the road to Goodwill, and Goodwill took some of the items, but there were some items that they said they were not able to take because they had too much. So again, there's a lot of inventory out there. The second reason I think that resellers shopping in thrift stores is not a problem is because resellers are providing a service. So what do I mean by that? There's a lot of folks out there like me, particularly the younger generation, younger than me, who are really conscious about where their clothing comes from, and they are aware of the environmental impact of fast fashion. So they want to buy things secondhand. The issue is, if you're sometimes looking for something very specific, you could go to the thrift store every day for a year and never find that very specific thing you're looking for. And that's where resellers come in. Resellers are looking for the good quality in-demand items that people want. They purchase it, they clean it up, they photograph it, then they list it on a resale site like Poshmark or Mercari or eBay. And then that enables a consumer to just do a simple search and find the item they're looking for. So for example, I had a very specific pair of white jeans that I was looking for, in a particular brand, a particular style, particular sizing that I know fits me. And I could go to the thrift store every day for a year and probably never find those jeans. But I was able to do a quick search on a couple of sites, and I found them on Poshmark, and I was able to buy them at a good price. They're secondhand. It's still part of the circular economy of fashion that we want to be doing more of. So it's a service that is provided to folks who want to shop secondhand, but maybe don't have the patience or the time to spend a lot of time in thrift stores. They just want to look for things online. So there is one way that I think that as resellers, we can do a better job and be more responsible when we are sourcing in the thrift stores. And that is by not hoarding. So what do I mean by that? So if you've been in the reseller community for any length of time, you probably know that there's a phrase called the death pile. And the death pile is a pile of unlisted inventory. It's been sourced, but it hasn't been listed for sale yet. So that is a death pile. Some people have really small death pile. For me personally, I source about once a week because I do this part-time. So I source about once a week. I will list all throughout the week, and I try to get everything listed before I go sourcing again, so I don't build up all this inventory that I get behind on. There's a lot of folks out there, if you ask, like I saw a recent Facebook thread where someone asked, hey, what's the size of your death pile? I saw numbers like 100, 200, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 items. That is not a business. That is a hoarding problem. Sorry to say it, but it's true. That stuff is not making you money. If you've got 2,000 items that you haven't listed, you have a shopping addiction or a hoarding addiction, but it is not a business model. There's just no justification for that. So I would say, as resellers, let's not source more than we can conceivably list in a relatively quick amount of time. And then also it's about being more choosy with what we do source. So, sometimes we get really excited about something and we buy it. We're like, I don't know, I'll just buy it, see what happens. And we either list it or we don't list it, but it may or may not sell. And that's not really serving anybody. So I think it's more responsible to be a little more choosy about what we're sourcing, doing a little more research, understanding how quickly something will sell and if it's in demand or not. And then that way we're not, buying the excess inventory too much and leaving items for folks who really need it, who rely on thrift stores to purchase their clothing because they can't simply afford to purchase it new. So those are just a few of my thoughts on the matter. I would love for you to drop me a comment and let me know your thoughts as well. I'm definitely open to the conversation around this and how we can be more responsible as resellers, contribute to the circular economy, and be more conscious overall in our fashion choices. So again, you can find me at corporatecrunchy.com. Thanks, everybody.